Hey guys, welcome to episode 70. Got a comedian. We didn't do a really good intro on the in the conversation, so here it is. It's a Raj Desai, really funny stand-up comedian. You've seen him on the Late Night with Greg Ferguson. He's been doing comedy in LA for like 15 some odd years. Writes for a handful of TV shows. Really funny dude. We got just talking also about we're both from Middle America, Texas, Oklahoma, talking about the differences between LA and that area, and then also just a very knowledgeable dude about what TV has turned into, and a real fan of television and what the industry has changed into, and we're trying to figure out what we're doing as entertainers in it. Anyway, check it out. Good episode. We just didn't really get a good intro, so this is the intro. Check it out. Later.
Real soft. All this is included in the podcast. Nobody's going to cut this out because we don't know how to edit.
We're the laziest editors ever.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
All this is in there.
How do you have to want to know having to do any editing or anything like that, or have you been able to escape that whole?
I mean, I've done a little here and there of my own stuff occasionally, even just footage of my family and stuff.
Yeah,
just on the
it's like a cap cut kind of thing where you just where it's just like a vote, like a slideshow kind of thing. Or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm one of the worst editors. I remember it was like starting in the '90s with what was PowerPoint?
David? Oh no.
Where it was just like moving videos around and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that one. I mean, I started doing stand up on that. What was that type of phone that was the camera before everyone had phones?
Okay.
It was like that small camera. Like it looked like it was a rectangle. I had that. It was like a flex camera or something they called it, and like a lot of
the T-Mobile Sidekick thing.
No,
I think you're kind of like a GoPro,
similar to that.
GoPros were good for wearing on your head if you're gonna do skateboarding and stuff like that.
This was something you could just
similar to that.
I mean, it was about the size of an iPhone.
Just a camcorder.
Just record well.
Yeah.
And it came with its own editing software, so you could do your own reels.
And
that I used. Yeah.
And you would plug it. And you would plug it into your laptop, and it would it would just go straight in with the USB cord. I had one,
and at the time it was like $200. So when I bought it, I was like, "Okay,
this is an investment.
I better use it." And then
I'm serious about being a stand-up comedian.
Film myself a lot because filming yourself is like you have to remember to. You already have like a million things you're doing. It's like, okay, now I gotta. Setting up a tripod is so humiliating before a show.
I hate
your own tripod.
I hate doing it. Everybody, welcome to the podcast. We got a guest on here. I think this is episode whatever number it is. Raj Desai, very funny guy.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, dude. The camcorders and then now everybody records and
it's almost like expected. You record everything you do, which I don't know if it's bad. I just. Notice
it's just done,
and you don't feel self-conscious doing it.
The shame is gone.
Yes,
we've seen people blow up off of it.
Exactly, because I think 10 years ago, if you're doing a bar show and you're pulling out a camera for a bar, you're just kind of like, what is this guy think is going to happen?
What is this asshole doing?
It's I'm just trying to get something on tape to send to people. Come on.
Yeah.
And now it's like people record themselves 100% of the time.
Here's me walking into Big Fish.
Yes.
It was. Did you ever do Big Fish? The one in Glendale.
I did. Yes.
It was like the worst. It was like the worst show in Los Angeles.
God, yeah, that was a great. I mean, it was. It great because it was what it was.
Yeah, it was. It was like this club. I hosted it for a hot minute after Denver and Doug.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Me and Sean Hart did. We did different opposite weekends.
Oh, okay.
And it was documented as the worst comedy show in Los Angeles.
It was brutal some days.
It was right next to a train track. The trains would interrupt your show. It was Glendale. It was a bunch of old dudes who would just yell out. They hated the show, but they were there every Tuesday. Yeah. So
it was
people would record.
The thing about it is at least in those days, I felt like going out to even a bar show, like you really didn't know if there would be an audience, other than the comedians or maybe somebody's comedian's girlfriend or boyfriend or something.
Yeah,
but
like
there were always people there.
Yeah.
So you're like, this is good. There's like 20 people here. Unfortunately, they hate your guts like half the time. So you're like, well, okay, well, this isn't as fun as I'd hoped it would be. But,
yeah, we've doing comedy in LA. You interrupt a lot of Lakers games.
Lakers games.
Yeah, dart tournaments, pool billiards, those kind of things.
Yeah, bar shows are tough. I at one point I kind of was like, I don't think I'm gonna do them anymore because I feel like I'm just interrupted. Like, it's like people are on a date or they're like, they're catching up with their old friend, and you're just like, hey, you guys see this toothpaste ad or whatever? It's just like, who? Yeah, it felt so rude doing it.
Yeah.
But some bars have like a back room. Those are great.
Like a 3 of clubs kind of thing or something.
Yes, exactly. You go to it. Everyone knows this is what's happening here. And then some it was just be like, okay, everybody, these idiots are going to make you laugh. And it's like, oh, great. I'm sure they can't die.
It's like a hostile audience.
Yes. Yeah. So I kind of like was like, I'm just going to say no to those. And then now I'd probably do them just because they're challenging or interesting.
You get bored after a while, and it's just like you miss it. Like the one time you crushed in front of a rowdy bar show, that kind of thing.
Yeah, anytime you like win an audience over, like if they hate your guts at first, then by the end you have them. It's like I don't know the amount of times, maybe 10 times. It's like that's the most satisfying set there is by far.
Well, like we used to. I remember before the pandemic, we were doing that one on Mondays over on the west side. It was Bungalow Bar or something like that. It was over in like Santa Monica.
Yes, I remember that. I think
we were just doing it on like the side of the bar. It was a Monday night. Nobody was there. It wasn't an open mic, but it really was an open mic. You know, it was just like one of those rooms where it was.
Chris ran that one?
Yes, Chris Gert.
Yes.
Chris Gert, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was actually a fun show. A lot of parking. I mean, sometimes there's just a lot of parking. You're like, this is good. There's a big parking lot. I can park.
Dude, our bar gets so low for what we're
yeah. But I mean, that one wasn't bad, but it was that is true. If you were there to meet your friend, your old friend you hadn't seen in 10 years.
Catch up with somebody from work.
It would just be hell.
Yeah. Yeah, that was okay, though I remember it was like one of the last times. It was like you and like Suba went up early, and it was just like and you guys both crushed. It was just like, I guess just Indians are hilarious.
Oh, maybe I don't know. I remember doing that show with her. I do remember that.
She's like on every show in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So
possibly.
Yeah.
So where are you from?
Yeah.
I grew up in Texas.
Yeah. I didn't know you were from Dallas
until like the last time we
did Hannah's show.
Yeah.
And I had never had that much interaction with you. And it was just like it was.
I don't know. I mean, sometimes I say it in my act like, "Oh, I grew up in Texas," but pretty rarely. I mean, So there's no reason. I think people are always a little surprised, like, "Oh, I grew up in." I think people think I maybe grew up on the East Coast. I think people think that. I don't know.
You wear the muted colors well.
Or like.
Are you not big enough for Texas? Is that what that is?
No, I don't. No. I think.
You don't have the big Texas personality.
I don't have a big personality. Yeah. I don't have.
Or you don't have the obnoxious Texas personality.
Yeah. You're not big for no reason.
Like, I mean, when I found out you were from Oklahoma, I could kind of hear in your voice then once you said it.
After a couple beers, a little twang in me.
I can hear it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have thought that necessarily. Yeah. I wouldn't have thought you were from anywhere. I would just thought.
This guy lives in his car.
Then you hear, that makes some sense. But
so I say something like around here, yonder, or something like that.
Yeah, but I haven't. Yeah. I mean, I haven't lived there in so long.
Yeah.
But that is where I grew up.
Did you start doing stand up like college out there, or did you kind of pick it up when you came out here?
I'm got to be older than you guys. I went to college in the 90s.
Yeah, me too.
In San Antonio.
Okay.
A small school called Trinity University, and there was a club
like an
there.
Evangelical school, right?
I don't think so. It's a Presbyterian or something.
Okay, yeah.
Like that.
All right.
Small liberal arts school. I'm not that religious, but there was a club there, and I did it like maybe 10, 12 times stand up there. Yeah. And this is really predates like podcasts or anything, any type of information that was available on how to do stand up comedy or how to become a comedian.
Yeah.
So whatever it was, the 12th time or the 13th time, I bombed so hard. I was so humiliated and embarrassed. I didn't invite anyone I knew, but it was still.
Yeah.
so humiliating. And then I was like,
getting your teeth kicked in early times. Yeah.
And I guess I didn't realize that like everyone experiences that. You know, I thought, well, I guess I'm just bad at this because it didn't go well.
You said you bombed the 13th time or
something like that.
So what was the first 12 times?
You know,
you feel like you
oddly enough, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt knows Mike a little. Like, the mic they had there, the open mic they had there was at midnights on Saturdays, and it was meant to be like a sexy, adult humor, like blue material.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, I don't really have a lot of that. I'm not like a Christian comedian or something, but I just don't have a lot of like.
Okay.
You're not
that material, but I did it, and I mean, I was like 21. I had nothing to talk about except television.
Yeah.
So I did like a lot of material about the Dukes of Hazzard. If anyone remembers that show, it's exactly what you think the material. It was like, why do they build so many ramps in this? Why don't they fix their doors? They're going to get back problems. It's just like anything you could predict about this show. They wear the same outfits all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway. And it did very well, and it always did well, or for the first 10 times or whatever it was, and then so I did this mic, and I never had any bloom. I mean, I'd barely dated at that age. I mean, I was a very late bloomer in life in general, but definitely in that. So like, I had nothing to say about the subject.
Yeah, you were
like sex.
You
maybe
were doing
masturbating or something.
The big pussy eating, bit.
And I don't even that stuff doesn't. That's not what I do either. Anyway.
Yeah.
But like, no judgment or anything. But like. And to be fair, a lot of the comedians were not doing that. It was just an open mic. They built it that way, I think, to get people to come in. Whatever. And so the club owner saw me enough, and he's like, you're doing pretty well. You want to come do an actual night? We can even pay you like a couple drinks and a meal. And I was like, I can't wait. Like, this is the most exciting that's happened to me.
Cha-ching, yeah.
It was like a Monday night.
A star is born.
And San Antonio has a very large Latino population. So that was
San Antonio.
On a Monday night. It was most of the audience was Latino.
Yeah.
And I was about to go up, on the lineup. I wasn't even hosting, and a comedian came in named Rick Gutierrez. He still does comedy.
He's still out here. Yeah.
A big.
Yeah.
Big in that community.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, Rick's gonna go up before you. I was like, oh, no problem. I had no idea, that like maybe a bigger star is going to, it's not
going
to be follow them.
The following the pressure that puts on. Yeah.
Honestly, to this day, I've heard two comedians kill really hard, like so hard that I felt like the room was
stomping.
Yeah, and it was him and I. One time, Gabriel Iglesias was at the Ice House. Another kind of funny story I can tell you, but like he was killing so hard and speaking Spanish for like half his act. Yeah. And it's just
bilingual.
Destroying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and in my head, I'm like,
killing in two languages.
No, I'm like, this is perfect. He's setting me up to come out here and just take over this laugh.
I'm just going to ride this wave, man.
And whatever. I come out with like, my nerdy.
More esoteric, more.
I see Dukes of Hazzard. The show had not been on in like 15 years. The movie had not even been out yet. Whatever I was talking about. And it was just it went over so badly. And I just thought, okay, I guess I'm not good at this. I don't know if...
Yeah.
I feel like when I was a kid, I played baseball a few times. And I didn't realize, like, even the greatest baseball players practice all the time. I just thought, I struck out every time. I just shouldn't be doing this. I don't know why I didn't have the logic to go, hey, you got to keep coming back, but I didn't.
Well, you have to be
humiliating.
You have to be unreasonable to be a stand-up comedian.
I think that's part of it. And I think
you have to have unreasonable expectations.
Again, like you said, you had no blueprint and no way to find out how you do it. So how would you know?
I guess I assumed like whatever, like
you hadn't seen
name a famous comedian, Chris Rock or
you hadn't
whoever.
Seen George Carlin bomb.
I assumed
Billy
those guys
Crystal.
Just every time they came out, it was a 10. That's what I assumed.
That's not crazy if you don't have any thing to go off.
No point of reference.
Real talk. Like I didn't realize that acting was a job until I met somebody from California who told me you go on auditions and be an actor. It just never occurred to me that that's just a regular person who went and became an actor
in college in Iowa.
It never occurred to me. Because I'm not around. I wasn't around it. No blueprint to it. It's just it's understandable.
So I mean that was I was like, okay. But the other story about Gabriel Iglesias is real quick. One time is the Ice House has that small room.
Yeah, the annex or it's some California room now. I think it's called.
I was in there.
Okay,
and this is before Gabriel Iglesias was quite a huge name. Like he was clearly
he was up and he was right. I think 2006
and
or something.
He's in the main room. And I mean, the laughter is so loud it was interrupting my set.
Like, can you hold it down? Can you stop crushing, please?
I was like, you know what? We should all go over there. I kind of did. I was like, I don't know what you guys don't. I mean, you don't have an extra $12. You could have been in that room or whatever. It kind of went over well because like it was so
in the moment
loud. Yeah. And like it was just kind of like I've definitely seen plenty of comedians kill or whatever.
Yeah.
Those two experiences were like, wow, like
just eye opening for you. Yeah.
Like almost feels like the roof is going to come off.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've never quite killed like that. So
yeah,
one of these days when Dukes of Hazzard comes back, when it gets rebooted.
You need another reboot, man. I don't know if it was Jessica Simpson last time. I don't know. Maybe it's gonna be Miley Cyrus for this next one.
Yeah, that would not be bad.
That would kind of hit. That would kind of work.
She would work as Daisy Duke. Yeah.
Yeah, that could work.
So. Yeah.
I mean, it'd be funny if like you're trying to like EP it just so you can bring back that joke, just so you can bring back the material.
It's a show that is so anachronistic. I mean, they had a Confederate flag on top of the car. I mean, you could never do half that stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they made comments about how hot their cousin was.
Yes.
It was just like, okay, this is so strange. But when I was 7, it was that and the
what, Fall Guy?
The
maybe?
talking car.
Knight Rider.
Knight Rider were like the shows that I just.
I had the Dukes of Hazzard lunchbox.
I had a hat,
metal one.
At least, yeah. I don't know if I had a lunchbox, but I had a hat, and I just thought it was the greatest thing ever.
I don't know if you can say that, Matt.
Well,
we can say that, but when you say it has a different tone.
The Oklahoma really comes out in my voice whenever I start talking Dukes of Hazzard.
I mean, it is like an amazing.
When you say you were a fan of the Dukes.
I really liked the car. I really liked the hood. That was
the hood of the car, not the roof. I
didn't care for the show that much. I just liked the wide. I just liked seeing the hood of the car. That was really stop. You're making me cough now. No, okay. So you've been around for this. So like you've seen like what television has turned into.
I have. So anyway, I did it in college a little bit. I did do it for a long time, and then I came out here in 2005. So
were you coming out immediately to going into stand up or?
Yes, I was like, I'm going to try to do stand up.
Yeah,
I had put it on the shelf for a long time and just hadn't really.
You're young. You're right out of college. I've got time to do it. I'm going to give myself.
I guess I hit an age where I was like, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it.
Now or never,
so
kind of thing.
I was 27 when I kind of decided, which isn't like that old, but
No, that's fine. I think
normal. I got to do it now if I'm going to ever do it. So that's what was the impetus, I think. And then I came out here. I really didn't know anything else about the way comedy worked. You know what? That's not true. I had by that point I had seen enough interviews with comedians that weren't like them being funny or read enough.
Sit down interviews.
Yes, where they said like. Where it was like, well, how'd you get into comedy? It's like, I moved to New York and I started doing open mics. I moved to LA. I started doing. There was always the same answer. I was like, oh, so that's what you do.
I can't really do this in San Antonio. There's only so much to do. Yeah.
That aspect to it, and then just like everyone started that way.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like Chris Rock was Chris Rock in 1988. He had to
develop,
work at Red Lobster, and take the train into the city,
stack chairs to go on stage last.
Yeah, and so you start to realize like, oh, like I guess I just assumed, again, going back to how naive I was, I just thought they were that good immediately, and they were. Someone said, "Here's your TV show." I don't know what I thought.
Right? I mean, we have a spot.
It's insane.
We have a spot on SNL. Would you like to come tell some jokes? Would you like to do some characters?
Maybe one actor has booked their first audition and become a star off it. Maybe I don't know, a kid actor or something. But like, it's usually like 2,000 or something or whatever.
It's like scratching a lotto ticket.
Yeah. So. It's just so funny that I thought that or whatever, and sometimes when people move out here and they say, I'm going to give myself 6 months or a year, especially a low time frame like that, or 5 years is not crazy, but if you're going like 6 months, I'm like, by that point you're going to have like a futon, like that's when you first get your futon or whatever. So what are you talking about? Like, but
6 months is a reasonable goal for a futon. Yeah,
I could see myself having said something like that or thought that too, because you just don't have any concept.
Yeah, well. You didn't come from like an entertainment background. You didn't have like I was a similar situation. Marcus was a similar situation. We didn't have the networks built up like that.
And I guess I thought, okay, so I moved here. I think I took about a month to I stayed with a friend, found a place, whatever, got a job, and I was like, okay, let's start hitting these open mics. And I think if you had asked me at that time, I would have thought, well, after a couple of months, someone's going to see me, and whatever. I didn't even think, do you have to be good?
The pig and whistle.
I just thought like, well, I moved here. That's it.
That's Hollywood. They'll discover me. Yeah.
And then you realize very quickly, like, oh, like there's like a lot of people here doing this, and like it's really challenging.
It's a meat grinder.
And, like, and so it is funny to look back how naive I was, and And I decided to get headshots at one point.
Yeah.
This is kind of a funny story. And then I looked it up this is so long ago, there was the Yellow Pages. I called a guy in the Yellow Pages. I mean, which is just like a weird, if you're like a good headshot photographer, you're not really, it's like,
looking back, like,
you know, like, if you're like a good cardiologist, you're not in the Yellow Pages, you know, you're like, people just know, you know, and
PCPs
so I found this guy out of nowhere, and he was like, I mean, the photos are so funny, they're so corny, it's like, you know, like,
because
just
funny.
He's like, you're a comedian. He's like, why don't you put these glasses on? They're like these goofy glasses,
like Groucho Marx glasses and shit. And
I was like, this guy must know what he's doing. He's been doing this a long time.
He's in Hollywood. Yeah. Someone discovered him.
And it was like, I don't know the exact figure, but a few years later, I had a friend who's an actual actress who worked in the, you know. Recommended me to her person, and he was like half the price, and they were so much better. I was like, well, this guy totally saw me like come off the bus. Hey, you need some headshots? And I was like, yeah, I do. You know, I never know.
He's like anybody who calls from the Yellow Pages.
This is a moron. And like I should double charge him. It was so strange. And anyway, it was
like a little feather boa.
No, he did not. What did he? He had other props too, like funny ones, like a
rubber hammer. What do you have?
Oh well, I definitely remember. I mean,
the rubber chicken. Did you?
You know, reading a book to be like, I'm auditioning for a smart guy.
I'm gonna be one of Frasier's guests.
And like,
exactly.
It was really. I mean, and some of the pictures weren't bad. You know, I think I saw them a few years ago, and I was like, I look kind of good in this one. I don't know. I mean, you know, at least I have that.
Follies of youth.
But the next guy that I got, like again, like a real actress, who was like, oh, go to this guy. You know, Mark was his name. I can't remember his last name, and he was like so much better.
He knew what to do.
I don't think the first guy was kind of old. I don't think he understood digital photography that well. So it was all like, you know, printed photographs,
so he didn't keep a lot going.
But the next guy was like, oh, I don't even print. Who prints photos? I was like, oh, the last guy I had.
Oh, for these specs.
No one has printed photos anymore, right? It's all digital. Even in 2005, 2006, I think that's when I would.
You could just see like a digital reel.
Yeah, it was just so funny. Like that guy was so behind, and yet he did find someone.
And you were like subsidizing his
to pay his rent or whatever for that month.
You were subsidizing his technology.
And when I think about it, he was really like glad to have a client. Like he's like, oh, come on in. And I was like, oh, this guy seems really excited. He must be.
Was he doing it at his house? Was he one of those guys?
It was at his house.
Oh, he was. So he was just sitting around watching soap operas, and you just had.
I guess
you were like you were the one.
But I would think maybe in 1982 or something, if you wanted a headshot, you did look in the Yellow Pages.
Yeah.
And maybe he was like a great photographer then.
Yeah.
And people wanted a guy who read a book or wore glasses.
Nobody reads books anymore. That's
like, I don't know.
Yeah, you might as well be a scientist with a dinosaur bone holding a book. Yeah.
That's good.
But anyway, those are like definitely some good stories about what a fool I was.
Yeah.
But I just moved here and was like, oh, I guess I'll start doing it, and then people will. I didn't even think.
Yeah.
It's not because I thought I would be good at it. It's because I didn't think about like, oh, to get people to care, you have to like impress them. Like, I just thought, you showed up.
They'll catch on.
You went to a coffee shop where you had to buy like a Pepsi to perform, so it's like already not. Not
already,
top of the heap.
It's already cutting into your bottom line. Yeah.
I guess I assumed. Whatever, like Jay Leno would walk in and be like, "You're on the show. Come on down tomorrow."
Are you free Thursday?
I just had no concept that it's like, it doesn't work like that. But
my first thing was I was intimidated by comedy clubs. Because I was just
intimidating places. They still can be.
Yeah, I when I first started, I didn't. I had gone to the store open mic, and then I'd also like seen like there's like the lore of like the Comedy Store, the Improv, and you see like pictures of Jerry Seinfeld or Jim Carrey or whatever, Eddie Murphy, and it was just like, I there's no way I could perform there. And then it took me so long to get over that. So I was doing that open mic heap for so long.
I mean, I can understand that. I did when I moved here. I knew what the Comedy Store was because I love David Letterman, and I knew he
started Doorman or whatever,
was the house MC there and stuff. So I was like, I got to go there. I got to perform there.
Yeah.
And people now wouldn't believe it because the Comedy Store now is such a A-list club. It's such a top-notch club with best names
with
in
the caliber
comedy, with multiple rooms going at the same time.
Yeah, it used to be a spook show. Yeah,
it was not a great place to perform in like 2005. It was depressing.
Yeah,
it was dark.
People sleeping.
I mean like dark mood.
There were people sleeping in the back of the OR. You know,
and I mean I don't know how you guys feel. I guess in my opinion.
I started in 2007, 8.
Okay, so that's not too much long.
Yeah.
I feel like nowadays there's less weirdos doing, like, oddballs. You don't know how they make a living type people doing it.
Yeah.
Back then, like, a third of the lineup was like, who is this person?
Homeless people.
And his name is, Crispy Chicken or whatever. And like
Boom Shakalaka.
Boom Shakalaka. So anyway, when I went to the open mic, I thought, like, this is the top. These are the best comedians in the world.
Yeah, this is the New York Yankees.
This is Comedy Store.
Yeah.
And it was like, that guy seemed kind of crazy. And then the next guy's like, this guy didn't make any sense. I don't know. Is he any good? And then you realize, like, it's just a lot of weirdos.
There's like a lot of mentally unwell people here. Yeah.
And honestly, like, there was another one, the Laugh Factory. I don't know what they do now. At that time, the open mic was like on Tuesdays.
Tuesday afternoons, you had to line
up. You had to get there like at 2:30.
Yeah.
So
people would camp out.
Still, okay. And it's like, that's an odd time to be free. Like if you have a normal 9-to-5 job, it's a very odd time to be free. Yeah. So it's like, who can go? Like, people have a certain percentage of those are people who have no place better to be at 2:30 on a
You're
Tuesday.
either...
so
you're either very, very rich or very broke.
Yes. And I could see...
Yeah. Nobody in the middle.
Or you work at nights. But if you're a comedian, that's the thing. Like the other conflict I had when people were actors, they want to audition every day so they can work as a bartender or wait. It makes some sense. But if you're a comedian, like you work at night, so you kind of have to have like
that availability,
truly a day job. Meaning it happens in the day.
There's not many good 11 a.m. gigs.
Yeah.
In stand-up.
So I often found that to be. When some of those auditions were like at 2, I'm like, okay, I guess I just won't do this mic. I guess,
and that was for me. That was my first exposure to the club.
Yeah, same here. I did. You know what? I did one time. I did like
go or buy a ticket,
disappointment or whatever. At, this office job I worked at, and I took. And I went, and I don't think I even got on, and I was just like, this just isn't worth my time.
Yeah,
and,
I worked at Sunset in La Brea, and I would.
That's at least close.
So I would. They let me do it like every other Tuesday, and then I would hike over there, and I wouldn't get there in time, and there would already be like 15 people there. Yeah. It was just very disappointing.
It is really like
yeah.
There is something like you were saying earlier, like when you look at that system and you think just to have a like shot at performing at the Laugh Factory.
Yeah.
You have to show up at 2:30 on a Tuesday, and then you got to be good.
Yes, you got to
be good
and clean,
and you have to. And in order to get good, you need a lot of stage time. To be honest, to some degree, right? Like you need at least a certain amount.
Yeah, and
like it's just such a silly thing to stick with. But I guess once I got out here, I was like, I'm here. I'm going to stick with it.
Pot committed.
Embarrassment of going back home or what that kept me here, but I did. Whereas in college I was like, well, no one knows I'm doing this. I can just leave. No one's going to care. Yeah, like no one noticed.
The stakes are low. Yeah.
I was like, just my own personal embarrassment. No one has to know. So but that was like I don't know. And the Improv had an open mic that was like. Thursdays at 10 p.m. and like 50 people would sign up for it. Yeah. And they would do all 50 to their credit.
Yeah. Rita was there. Still doing it. Yeah.
So you got to give them some credit for that. They sat there.
She's an angel.
Everybody.
She's a freaking angel.
She was very nice. I remember her.
She still has notes on me from the 2000s.
Yeah.
Which is probably has notes on you.
Maybe. Yeah. So, I mean, which I think is like, Comedy Store one was like 15 people,
and it was like a Somali food drop trying to get your name on the list.
Yeah, maybe. That? Oh, that's right. You signed up yourself.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now they have so many people going there. Like 100 people competing.
You
for
email
like
you email Friday. Yeah, it's wild. And you can still get on if. But anyway, you've moved past that level.
Yeah. I mean, I have no idea, but like I it's just so funny to think of like. That I would have looked at that and go, well, yeah, this makes sense. I should keep trying to perform here. It's like, okay. I mean, I think the naiveness helped me, because I would have, if I had any more savvy, I would have been like,
this is insane.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you start feeling like you were like for validation or that kind of thing, or where
I don't know. That's a good question.
You're still waiting for it.
I guess, probably to some degree, something internal is not feeling, whatever the word is, I don't know, self-confident or whatever.
Yeah.
Always probably will be the case. Whatever happened.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, but I think I felt like after about 9 months, I had 5 minutes that was like fairly decent and clean.
Okay.
I don't think I would do any of that material anymore. Like one was about Law and Order. It's just Law and Order, the ads for Law and Order, which is like
SVU and all that.
I guess it's still on, but
dude, there's like 8 of them now. I think
just the rip from the headline thing they always said. So and it was like pretty funny. People always. I mean, I don't know if at the time it was like pretty funny. It wasn't like the most genius thing, and I feel like I had decent material that if I had someone was like, you got to do 5 minutes and you got to show.
Here's your mainstream. Here's my mainstream.
And I had it, I think, to some degree.
Yeah.
So that felt good, and then validated. Boy, I don't know. Like,
you're still seeking the validation. There we go.
I guess to some degree, I don't know, or just like there is no end to it or something. I don't know. What's a feeling of like? I mean, I've been on TV doing it, right?
Yeah.
So that the first time I did TV was exciting. Was very exciting.
Was that Ferguson?
It was Craig Ferguson.
Yeah.
Which
Oh, he was good for stand-ups.
He was. They put a lot of people
so many people's
on.
first spots.
Yeah.
He had the Late Show, I think, or whatever. Yeah, CBS. Yeah.
And that was good. I had performed at West Side Comedy Theater at the time. Which is that still the name? No, it's
still West Side Comedy Theater.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I performed there on a showcase for the Montreal Comedy Festival,
GFL.
which I guess is gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think Netflix.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Just my opinion. I definitely, by far, certainly from the audience reaction, had like
a strong set,
a very good set, like an excellent set.
Yeah.
Like I think the best set of the night. If you're basing it on the audience laughter, that's it.
Big Law and Order
it's
crowd.
all whatever.
Yeah.
And I felt it was like the callback one. And
so the second
I didn't get it, and I saw that 2 people on that same show got it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I don't even think either of them are in comedy anymore, which is like, whatever, fine, I don't care.
Which is even more frustrating. Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like 18 years ago or whatever it is now, but
fair.
So it felt disappointing, but then I found out that a woman from the Craig Ferguson show was in that was just in the audience. The woman that booked the stand-up.
A talent booker for
yes,
Ferguson.
was there just because it's like, a good slate of young people who haven't been on TV.
A little bit of vetted, a little bit of validated.
So she came, and then I didn't get that JFL, but then I got an email from her being like, hey, I got your email through the club or whatever, like you want to send in a tape, and so that felt good. That felt very good, like someone noticed.
Yeah.
And then getting the tape was sort of a funny story. This is the camcorder days. I mean, I had a camcorder. I had to strap to a tripod. Again, you have to be like, oh, excuse me, is it okay if I record in here? You have to pull the thing out, slide the thing 3 times, prop it up, find it.
And then still remember your set and be comfortable while you're doing it. Yeah.
Anyway, so I was like, well, I got to get this tape because this woman is asking me if I want to do stand-up. I mean, on TV, right? She wants the tape to show whoever her boss is or herself, So I had a gig at the Ontario Improv on like a Tuesday night, just a comedian booking the show. It wasn't like through the club or anything. And I was like,
producer show. Yeah,
I got it. Let me try to tape it. I went out there. It's a packed house.
Yeah,
like, it's a big club. It's packed.
Yeah,
and like I was like 4th or 5th, and everyone is just bombing so hard. Like different styles of comedy too.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh boy, I guess I'll go ahead and record it, but I'm probably not going to get that tape.
You got to record it, yeah.
I went up there. I said like hello, just immediate like laughter, love, like everything.
Yeah.
And I got done, and I asked the guy, I was like, who's in the audience? And he goes like, oh, it's some like computer programmer convention. I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. They thought they could relate to me. Oh, I was like, I guess I'm the reason why I'm the only guy that did well today. Yeah. I look like a computer programmer. Oh, but I did get.
They saw you, like thought you worked IT or something like that.
I guess, or just that my material was like what they liked. Just my style was like nerdy.
This reminds us of one of our dudes in the break room or something like that.
Yeah. So like it was kind of funny, and then I did get on Craig Ferguson, and that was a good feeling. You know, they called me.
Yeah.
I was at a day job, in Century City, and then they called like at like 2 p.m. They said, hey, we had someone dropped out. Can you come by? Can you get here by 5?
Oh, shit, that night.
That day, yeah.
That day.
I think they use a lot of comedians for comedians are so easy to use as substitute guests, right? Because it's not like a band. It's not like an actress that has to be like flown out and you have to do a lot of.
There's no pyrotechnics. There's no
preparation unless once you've seen their set, you just go out there and talk for 5 minutes and you're done.
And it may not even be on that day where they use you.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Mine was not used on the day,
especially if you're not being a guest. Also,
exactly.
You're not brought over to the couch.
It's just I think that to this day, that's a big reason why talk shows use comedians,
and that's why Jimmy Kimmel they just tape a bunch at once.
They tape a bunch at once.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was like a really lucky.
Yeah.
Thing and
also you're already in Citrus City, so we're
true. And then it was like it did feel good. It felt. I remember. I don't know that anything will feel as exciting as that.
Yeah.
I don't know if validating is the word, but it felt like and I'm not sure it's the world's greatest credit even in 2009. I mean, it's a bit of a mouthful. The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, the guy that's on after Letterman. It's not like you say
just say Ferguson.
I was on Johnny Carson, and people know exactly what you're talking about. But it was a credit, and it was something better than like this guy is really funny or whatever. When I was on the road more, having a credit.
He just got his first CBS credit.
You did? Yeah. No way. On what?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, what's it called?
I was on the episode of The Equalizer.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. With
Thank
Queen
you.
Latifah. That's a reboot show. People don't know that. It was shown in the 80s.
Yeah. Reboot show, and then Denzel made it a movie, and
that's right.
Now she's
doing
the show again. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a big hit show.
It is. It's still going.
It got
doing pretty good
for like multiple seasons or something.
Yeah.
He had his first speaking role in that one. So
I didn't have my first speaking role in that show, but it was my first CBS credit.
Okay, fair enough.
That's why I let you keep going, because it was on CBS.
Good for you. Congratulations.
So when you did the set the day of, because I assumed there was some more preparation before they let you go on. Did they just you do the same set you sent the tape in?
Exactly.
With? Yeah. Okay, so
just
they already
they know what you're going to say.
Okay.
Okay. And so they're okay with it. It's past their standards development or whatever. And
S&P standard procedures.
I guess it would be nice to have like a week or two to prepare and go up a bunch. So I didn't have that, but I felt I was going up so much then that I didn't.
You had it on. You had it on.
Yeah.
And to some degree, you're just kind of
locked and loaded,
autopilot. Yeah. And I also remember like they had like a green room with it was. I just ate my dinner there. I was like, this food this is amazing. And Sarah Bareilles Ellis, this big singer now, she's like. Mm-hmm. What's her big hit song?
Yeah,
she's she's big on Broadway and blah blah.
Yeah,
she was the musical guest for a different episode or whatever. She was there and her band were there, and she was not in any way mean, but she clearly was focused on her. She would not have any interest in speaking to me, which is totally reasonable.
Yeah,
but the other guy, the band was so nice. We all just chatted, and we had hummus, and it was like, this is fun. I can get used to this.
Try the almonds. These almonds are pretty good. Yeah, man.
It was really an exciting, experience. And so, and the free. I don't think I realized how good crafts. What is the craft service as an Equalizer? It's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
It's CBS prime time.
Man, it was great.
Yes. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Fresh everything. They make everything you want, and it was funny because I get there and they're like, "What you want for breakfast?" And then I just said some stuff, and then they came back with it.
Bar,
it was an omelet bar, all this other stuff, and then she'd come back and she came back and was like, "What do you want for lunch?" And then she'd give me a list and be like, "She was like, I was like, do I just pick one thing from each category?" She was like, "You can pick as much as you want. I don't care."
That's take it home. Take it home. I mean that kind of thing is it's only for network TV now.
Oh, man.
You can totally go on a set and it's just those bags of variety Frito-Lay packs.
The fun
Nature
size.
Valley bars. You're like, I guess it's free. It beats nothing. But once you've had the omelet bar, I don't know. It's hard to go back. Yeah,
it's like one of those things where I didn't realize at the time, like Arrested Development, Carl Weathers. Where
it
was just you just want to grab as much stuff as you have.
He's got a point.
Yeah, you got to get yourself a nice stew going when you get home. Yeah.
I mean, one piece of advice I got from somebody, a comedian, was like, if you go to a meeting, always take the water, because there's a good chance it's the only thing you're going to get from anyone. Or an audition, or if they go, "You want a water?"
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So
run it back.
That's kind of like a decent point, because it may be the only thing you get from your 30 minutes of time or 10 minutes. I was like,
yeah, that works.
So if there's free food, I usually try to strap on the feed bag. I mean, might as well, I guess.
Yeah. Heck yeah,
bring a backpack, have fun with it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You start just grab as much until people start calling you. Still people start going, oh, you're really hungry, huh? Yeah, that kind of thing.
Well, I definitely had friends who I worked with who would take home food for dinner from the craft services. But I mean, in their defense, it was like they were going to throw it away. Probably.
Exactly, if it's already prepped or whatever.
Maybe they would take it to a shelter or something. I mean, which I don't
like
know
a sandwich or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. So I would.
Or if it's running late, like the restaurants are going to be closed. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's fair. That's fair.
One time, oh my God, he's such a nice guy. I'm blanking on his name. He was on the show Chuck. He was like
the IT guy. Yeah, the IT show. Yeah.
Yes, and he was talking about the craft service. Chuck was like a
hit. Mark Anthony Stevens.
He's such a nice guy. I cannot remember
Mark
his
Anthony
name.
Lawrence.
No, stand up.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
go with it.
He was just describing the craft services. This was like 2007. It was like they had a little more money back then even than now on network TV, and it was just like he's like, oh yeah, I look forward to it all week. It's like wow.
I don't mind running overtime. That's another meal. That's another meal, baby. Yeah, I know. Works out great. What's you working on now? How are things going with?
I mean, I'm doing a little bit of stand up.
Yeah,
I work. So I basically about, I don't know, 9-10 years ago, I really did more write. I got more into writing, comedy writing, and so I worked on multiple shows. And then,
what shows?
I mean, the most I worked for Jimmy Fallon's show for a while. That was like the most well-known show.
Okay.
Yeah, Tonight Show. Yeah.
Definitely stuff you haven't heard of. I mean, and then...
It's no Craig Ferguson. But
it's no Craig Ferguson, yeah. But yeah, so I've mostly been writing, and then the show I worked on, it has been airing. I think today is the last day it airs. It's called Stupid Pet Tricks. It's on
Sarah Silverman.
Sarah Silverman's on TBS.
You got the Letterman angle with that.
I did.
Too.
Yeah, it was cool.
Because that was his. Stupid Pet Tricks. Yeah,
I got to be in the same room with them once. I didn't get to talk to him. But the same room.
That's funny. I was in the same room with Queen Latifah. I didn't get to talk to her.
It's something. It's kind of.
We breathe the same air.
I can brag a lot about the same rooms I've been in. I can't brag about many people I know. But definitely the same rooms.
Yeah.
So I worked on that. That's ending or airing, and over, and then
there's always that. There's always like, God, I hope it gets picked up.
I don't know. I would assume it's not if it hasn't picked up by now. Because it's like in the 10th week. So
oh shit! Okay,
probably not.
You never know, or it may be a late pickup. Who knows?
Basic cable is so strange now.
This year's weird altogether because of the strike from last year. So it's all
wonky a little bit. Yeah.
I don't know what.
There's like 4-week breaks between episodes on TV shows.
It's all strange. Like in some ways,
and there's about to be the IATSE thing too.
That could happen too. I mean, but some of those shows like The Equalizer or Grey's Anatomy is on this 22nd season or something. 21st. Is that renewed?
Yeah.
I mean, they make more. Even though it's like such an antiquated model, you shoot 26 episodes a year, and it's like it's just very different. It's what TV used to be.
Yeah.
It almost makes the most sense. This is stuff that keeps working.
Yeah.
Like in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a growth show, but I mean, obviously, there's an audience for it. They wouldn't keep doing it. They're able to sell the ads.
For sure. With the show I just this just airing, it's like I think it actually did kind of well.
Yeah.
For TBS.
Well, it was good. It was great writing.
Yeah, the writing saved it. Yeah, everyone was like, "Who wrote this?"
Yeah.
I have no idea that matters.
Yeah.
Like you would have to do like gangbusters to get anyone to care.
Yeah,
because you can still put on
Game of Thrones, Walking Dead level.
That kind of. I mean,
And comedy's so weird because it's like
so weird now.
It's so challenging, and it's so challenging, and it almost feels like it's not appreciated.
Yeah.
But they notice when it's not there. You know what I mean?
It's just there's too much. With the streaming services, there's like 1,000 TV shows coming out every year.
I mean, in some ways it's good if you're in the business, and in some ways it's like bad because nothing gets renewed.
Right.
Like I think. In a way. Like not nothing, but like
they're throwing everything against the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're not popping off crazy, they're just like, we can move on to the next thing.
I think move on to the next thing, this is basic cable, so it's reruns of like Big Bang Theory that do pretty well, ridiculousness, whatever. I mean, they do well. Like you can't argue that it's getting close to the same ratings as a new show.
Yeah, so
it's better even. So it's like,
and it's so much cheaper just to
you bought the rights, like you can show it and pay whatever the fee is for it, and then like move on.
Yeah,
I mean, in some ways it's kind of sad, but like Comedy Central is
it's graveyard.
Really interesting to look.
Well, tonight it's South Park. South Park
is still huge.
And Jon Stewart coming back to Daily Show was huge.
But it's still like mostly The Office and Seinfeld. I mean, most of it, which aren't shows they made.
Yeah,
you know,
the like, Adam Devine one.
Those are great shows.
Well, it was cool,
mean,
but there's nothing new coming off of it.
Like, you know, is that what this channel was? 10 years ago they were making a lot of new stuff, trying stuff, making pilots and
the Battle Bots or something, something silly, or Crank Yankers, or what.
And those. I mean, my understanding of basic cable is it still is very profitable.
Yeah.
Right? It just isn't anywhere near as profitable it was, 10 years ago.
Yeah,
5 years ago. So it's just constantly declining. So that makes everyone a little scared, I think, to take a risk in general. Like,
and that's one of the things with comedy, you have to be able to take risks. You know what I mean?
I think so.
Because
to do anything interesting in the arts, you have to take
no one wants to watch commercials anymore.
No one wants to
watch
commercials.
So you lost that revenue.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's funny you say that because, like, I definitely agree with that. When I have to sit through a commercial, I'm like furious. Like, oh my God, this stupid Downy ad or whatever.
Yeah.
But like now Netflix and Amazon, they're all adding commercials, and those are the tiers where they make the most money.
Yeah, they are.
Because charging advertisers is still the easiest way to make money.
Yes, exactly.
Max has it.
Or you pay the extra $2 a month.
Or you pay more to skip it.
It's a weird time.
So I think it's very strange, And I think network TV had its way of working, and then basic cable came around and kind of looked a little like network TV. Like they had pilots, they would shoot, and then if they'd picked it up or they didn't or whatever. So but like that structure to it is kind of gone, and like it only exists on like shows like The Equalizer, where like they make their 22 episodes a year, whatever it is, 26, and so I don't. It's very strange. So anyway, I've been writing mostly the last 10 years for basically variety shows, and then I'm honestly not really working right now. I mostly don't do anything. I mean, I have a kid. I have a 2.5.
You're raising a kid. You're raising a girl.
I'm mostly with her. My wife is working, so
there you go.
I mean, and I do a little writing on the side, so I try to write for myself. But to some degree, I'm waiting for another, the next thing to come. So
and it's so everything is so in limbo with entertainment right now. Where
it is, and that it's interesting. You asked like, oh, when did you feel about? And maybe it's because it's always like you're always like hoping for the next thing. And I did have a job. The Tonight Show is a job that runs forever. Like I didn't want to stay there forever. I thought I'd have something more, opportunities that but those jobs are so rare where it's just like this show exists. I don't think I realized how rare that job was in this business. So I might have stayed, but
there's only like 3 or 4 that have been going that long,
Yeah.
And like, Letterman transitioned to Colbert, and then like Bill Maher has his thing. It's been going for 20 some odd years.
For Bill Maher since 1999, you have a very good job.
Yeah.
A very consistent, good job. And like, so even if, I mean, I know plenty of, people in this business who have done a lot of great stuff, and it always feels like, oh, this is my last job kind of thing. So maybe that's why you never feel you know what I mean when you ask that question. Maybe that's why. I don't feel like, and obviously there's people like if you wrote for Seinfeld for 5 years, you have so much money.
Oh, just because of the residuals.
You're not thinking about it, so you feel valuable.
Yeah.
Or maybe they do or they don't, but they have a reason to. But like, so even if they're working or not, but like I kind of need to work. I mean, like or either in showbiz or something else at some point once the kid is old. So you want to, you maybe you
got to be able to knock out the rent and the
even though I've done a few things that I'm proud of, or that were difficult to accomplish for me. Maybe that's why there's like always that it's interesting to hear really successful people say that too. I'm not saying I'm one of those people. I'm saying people think like, oh, is this the last gig I'll ever have kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like, this is the last movie I'm going to have. I mean, even a guy
it feels like it's almost like a coffin.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
It's like, I mean, I did see this interview with Robert De Niro, one of the most, famous actors of all time, great actor, say, what, you really went to comedies. He's like, to be honest, it was the only thing people were offering me. I got too old to play a lot of the, I can't play a 40-year-old. I can't play the lead of a movie. There's no lead.
He's not the romantic lead.
Yeah, I mean, they might make 1 or 2 movies where an old person is the lead,
Yeah.
So he started doing a lot of comedies. He liked it, I guess.
Like The Comedian or something like that.
Yeah, and he likes to stay busy or whatever. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, even that guy got a little hit by that. Like the nature of this business is just challenging, It's like...
That's why we got Meet the Fockers.
Meet the Fockers, that's how you got Meet the Fockers, yeah. I mean, it's like
I'm watching you. Yes.
I mean, I'm old enough to remember when Queen Latifah was like a giant music star.
Latifah's had it up to here.
And I'm not saying
UNIT
being on the Equalizer is bad. It's a great job or whatever. I think she had her own talk show for a while.
She did.
Yeah, she did a lot of stuff, and finally was like, you know what? Just give me the job. I show up. I show up on set. Pays through the nose. I'll just do that.
Yeah, just a regular job instead of chasing movies.
Yeah, and it's not exactly like
it's steady work.
Yeah, she's not trying to get her own project off the ground or whatever, anymore. She probably can't. It's probably the truth.
Yeah.
I want to make the Queen Latifah vehicle. It's probably just not happening. But you could step into this other thing and do it. So
and you get the summers to work on something like that.
Yeah, and so it's very.
The industry has just gotten. I maybe it's just the longer I'm in it, more I just see more things going where it's just like it seems like where I go, wow, stability would be nice.
Stability is hard.
It's less punk rock. It's less the excitement is out of it. But
I think that's very true.
Yeah.
I also, I just feel a little out of touch.
Yeah.
In terms of how young people consume media.
Phones.
Even like a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
Like my daughter is 2.5. Like, why would she ever watch television? Like conventional television? Like, why would she ever be like? I could see her watching some show on Netflix when that's like,
like 10 years from now.
Not even just for kids, but like 10 years from now. But why would she watch like? The Tonight Show? Like, why? Like, it's on. They cut up the entire episode and put it on YouTube. Why would you turn it on?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like, it's what I grew up. So
because it was television that was it was coming from the antenna.
Yeah,
There was only there were 3 or 4 channels. My family didn't have cable, so it was
everybody watched it.
It was the over the air thing.
Yeah.
At 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, that was what you had. You had Johnny Carson and Letterman.
Exactly. I don't know. It's funny, like, you guys know this Night Court reboot?
Yeah.
You guys remember
John Larroquette.
Night Court?
Yeah.
Night Court was a big hit in the 80s.
Oh, yeah. It was
a decent hit.
Harry Anderson, Some
giant hit. It was like a decent hit in the 80s. They rebooted it. It's considered a big success. And the ratings...
Is it a success, the reboot?
Yeah, very big success.
Because the ratings hit so well.
Oh, okay.
But the ratings aren't a joke compared to what Night Court, the first one, did. It's like, this would be canceled so fast.
Yeah.
It just the standards have changed.
Yeah. The bar is so much lower.
And like, whatever. I don't think I'm like talking out of school or talking out of turn. But at the Tonight Show, like every year the ratings go down at the Tonight Show because
cord cutting,
or just like you can watch anything at 11:30. You don't just have 10 options.
It's not appointment TV anymore.
Every year it's going down. So that means they're losing money. Every year they're making less money than they used to. At some point they will just go, we don't make enough money. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that will happen in our lifetime, but like it will get canceled at some point, right?
Yeah.
Like, Guiding Light is I believe to this day the longest. It's a soap opera.
Soap opera. Yeah.
Afternoon the longest running show ever. It finally got canceled.
Yeah.
And it still is the longest running show ever, but it will get passed by General Hospital or one of them.
Days of Our Lives, General Hospital, one of those, yeah.
But at some point, like the numbers just don't add up. And soap operas are so cheap to make. They shoot them all on the sets.
Yeah.
They're not. There's no location shooting. You can tell by looking at them how terrible they look. Like this show sucks. This production value sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's really good looking, but like the show is stupid.
Yeah.
And like they don't make them anymore because no one watches them.
Yeah. The ink on the script is still wet. They just got done with it.
And so and like I've also seen.
Yeah.
Another thing that doesn't exist anymore are those like scandalous daytime talk shows much.
Oh, like the Jerry Springer's,
the Maury Povich. Maury was gone. Maury was on for a while. He was the last.
He had a good run. He was the last.
Ricky Lake. Like all those, they must be so cheap to make.
Montel Williams.
Right? And like... What were the numbers that bad?
I think whenever that person murdered somebody,
I remember something like that.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago. They were still going past that. Yeah,
but like what's the criminal thing kind of or the civil case?
They were going way past
Jenny Jones.
That was
the gay crush kind of thing. Yeah,
that didn't do anything. They went for 20 years after that.
Right.
That didn't do anything.
And I hate to say it, but I kind of found those shows entertaining. I didn't mind if you're just at home and you're like,
I'll still be scrolling and see a clip of "You Are Not the Father," and I'll still
it's pretty great.
Yeah.
I mean, my daughter dresses too slutty. That's another great one. I
can do what I want.
This character,
the military kid yelling at the scared straight kind of thing. Yeah.
You know what happened? That is my understanding. Is so Jerry Springer. They were getting a lot of like fights, like fist fights or whatever, chair smashed. And the city of Chicago was like, you cannot film here anymore if you're going to You have to do something.
Like, Oprah doesn't do that shit.
So they got that guy Steve Wicos or something.
Yeah, the bodyguard.
Yeah, and then he got his own show where he did the same garbage. Yeah. But the funniest thing is they brought out food, like just on the set, so people could throw.
Is that a fight?
So it's just food fights?
Yeah, right. And like the later years of Jerry Springer, was a lot of like food fights, which is incredible. Like, they just are.
We've got all this. Don't worry. Don't worry. While we have all this pudding and mashed potatoes here. And
I mean, it's so funny, those shows, and I don't know why no one. They must be so cheap to make.
It was just like a Gallagher crowd where they pull up the plastic. It's like smashing watermelons and shit.
You know, or similarly, like those judge shows, they're so cheap to make. They shoot like 10 of them in a day. Yeah. You know, like the people basically are on them for like free.
Yeah, well, I know. Yeah, I've been you got offered $100 to go do it and be on TV, and I'm like, I've turned it down because it's just like, don't worry, I'm not that desperate
and like,
yet.
You know,
Judge Mathis, Judge Joe Brown,
they're very profitable. So I often wonder what happened to Jerry. Did people's taste change? Did they not want to watch that stuff? Because I hate to admit it, but if I was going to watch. I really, it's not like an opinion or a strong opinion. I just don't watch reality TV. I never really cared about it.
I can't.
Like, those dumb talk shows, I liked them. I mean, I was a fan. I'm no better than anyone.
It made me feel better as a person.
I don't know that's what it was.
I wasn't the biggest piece of garbage.
Or just every time it was like, we got a surprise for you.
Yes.
So funny. The guy who just trashed is out here.
Yeah.
It's like, of course they're going to bring him out. Like, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And they brought the guy out. You know?
The girl, the guy that the two women are fighting about. There we go. Now we're going to bring in Travis. Like, he slept with me last night. No,
But I think if you're like 15, you don't even know what those shows were. I mean, I guess Maury had a long footprint. You might know Maury. But like, I think it's just like, what was that? Why was that on? What was it? You know.
When I was in college and I had a roommate and he was like a military. He wound up going to the Air Force, and I was not that kind of guy. But we could bond over shows. Jerry Springer. We could both sit there and we could feel better than everybody we were watching on screen. And it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was college. It was just like we didn't eat the same.
I liked about him is that there's two things I love. One is like he was kind of shameless. He was just like, my show's dumb and this is the show. When you saw him in an interview. But the other thing that was amazing is at the end of the show they had Springer's thoughts where he'd reflect.
He'd be real introspective, and it would be all positive, and it was.
What is this? You're pretending
he's doing footprints in the sand.
Op-ed about like what happened on your stupid show. It's like obviously and then like I feel like they would offer transcripts, and it's like who would buy the transcript of a Jerry?
You could buy them. Yeah, you could buy the taped of it. Yeah,
that show was incredible. Like I unfortunately he's passed away, I guess, but. It's just an incredible
he was also the mayor.
He was the mayor
of Cincinnati.
Do you know how he got his scandal was?
He paid a hooker with a check.
Bounced a check.
He bounced a check,
and that's
to a
how
hooker.
They found out.
And that's how he had to get out of political life. Yeah. Oh yeah, your career's over. Guess what? Guess what? I'm going, baby. Yeah.
Well, it's my understanding maybe. Yeah. In the last 15 years, he was the Democrats wanted him to run for Senate in Ohio. That's where he's from.
Yeah, because he still had
it's a very Republican state now, but can still, in the last 10 years, and they wanted him to run, and he turned it down. And I was like, maybe Jerry could have done it. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I would have voted for him just to see what he was like.
I mean, he's gonna have fun. He's gonna have fun no matter what. You know, it was just like.
So anyway, like I often wonder what happened to those shows, like because but like we were saying, like it just the money has to like.
It has to make sense. It has to fiscally make sense. I mean, you can get so far with just entertainment and like you do it like the art house thing, but
I heard. I have no idea if this is true, but I don't know if you guys watch Succession, but whether you watch it or not, it's a pretty expensive drama. They only shoot. They've only made like 40. They made 10 for 4 seasons, but
HBO
the sets
does quality
are like
shit.
really for a shot. It's in like. Manhattan high rises and on islands and stuff like that. Yachts. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's pretty expensive. So it did wrap up. I believe the people that ran the show wanted to end it after 4 seasons, but HBO was also like, you need to end this because we're tired of paying for it. We're not going to cancel it because it's talked about all the time and wins all these awards.
It keeps us in the ether.
It's just this is insane. We have to rent a yacht. Every other episode. It's like no. Like,
HBO is dope where you don't have the commercial pressure. It's the high end where
I think you have to have buzz.
Yeah.
Which is a different type of pressure.
Yeah.
Obviously, people have to think it's good.
Yeah, quality, or as opposed to sellable.
And exactly. Yeah.
Where it's like you don't have to worry about people selling Toyotas during your show.
Exactly. And I think like probably. Without a doubt, like there is TV before and after The Sopranos. The Sopranos came out, and it was like, oh wow, like TV. If you, everything about TV since '99 that came out maybe is very different.
Well, HBO, early 2000s changed the game with Wire, Sopranos, Sex and the City.
Sex and the City,
where it was just 3 monster shows. They owned Sunday night,
and people, including me, I have seen every episode of Sex and the City. I haven't watched the new one, and I legitimately like the show. I think it's got some really smart observations about dating and relationships and friendship. It is so unfunny, that show. It is the least funny show in the history of the world. It's so unfunny, but I love it. I think it's a great show. I do, but it was also so different than anything that came. It truly was a revolutionary show. Yeah. The one scene I remember from it that I just think is so funny is I don't even know if you're familiar with it, but like there's this woman, the really horny woman,
Kim Cattrall.
Yes, Samantha.
I know her.
Well,
she's in Porky's.
She is in Porky's, yes. She's also in Police Academy.
Oh, yes.
But her, and she's the mannequin.
She always played like the bimbo
She's the
sex
mannequin
bot.
in Mannequin
She
1.
was the mannequin, yes.
Yeah.
But her and Sarah Jessica Parker, Carrie, they've gone upstate to New York, and they're in like rural America, which is like, okay, maybe. Upstate New York.
More conservative area, less.
And they see a guy, a jacked guy, driving a tractor with no shirt on. Okay, first of all, that's like never happened in the history of like tractor use.
Definitely, this came from
but
casting.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And she goes, I remember she goes, "Who's the farmer with the delts?" And then Carrie goes, "Young McDonald," and then what's her face? King Cattrall goes, E-I-E-I-O. It was like, so I just was like, this is so unfunny. Somebody wrote this. But the episode was kind of an interesting episode. It's her boyfriend Aiden takes her upstate, and they have some fighting. And it was like, this is a good TV, very good TV with the least funny thing I've ever seen written by children.
Oh, God.
Like
you have a high bar because
it's like, what?
Yeah, you have a high bar. We look at some of those scripts and we're like, who did they not punch this up?
It's just
bring in a comic.
Is there an adult that talks like that? I don't know. Anyway, but like, you're totally right that those 3 shows were like there's TV before and after those shows. Like I really think you can see it.
And the fact that you didn't have commercial interruption, you had swearing, you had sexual content, you had whatever,
Well, like I'm not an expert enough to know, but people say that there is TV and film acting before and after Streetcar Named Desire, before and after Marlon Brando was in that, which was 54.
Stella.
So when you watch like a movie from 1953 or earlier, it
changed.
You see right here, the way they talk is very stilted, very like
one-dimensional,
unrealistic, and it's like they say the perfect thing every line. But once that movie came out, people talked more like they talk.
Conversational as opposed to presentational.
And I think you can. I just don't know enough about film history to really comment on it. But if you see a movie from 1930, you're like, no one behaves like this. Is insane. No one behaves like this.
It's more of a show. As opposed
and then you see one from 1970, and maybe it's not a good movie, but at least people talk like that, or behave like that. So, it is an interesting thing. I do think those shows really. What a sea change for television.
Well, I can't. It still freaks me. It's still wild that people watch 3-camera sitcoms anymore. Or
there's not many of them left, but people do.
Well, like Office really changed that.
Office changed that. That was a big deal.
And it was reality TV that really shaped The Office.
Yeah,
because it was like a satire of reality TV.
It's hard for me to watch a multicam sitcom and not be taken out of it by the unreal. Like, how many times are the friends at this coffee shop, and why do they get the same seats every time? It's really hard for me to let go of this.
Why don't they call a restraining order on the quirky neighbor after a while?
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
But
who talks to their neighbor?
They're also like they shoot it that way. You guys probably know, like Lucille Ball and her husband Disney, they invented that.
And
it's
they
so
were
cheap.
really married.
It's so cheap to shoot that way. It's so much cheaper, and like. Most people they're in the office, they're at work, and they're at like a bar. There aren't that many sets in your life, but like it is ridiculous they spend that much time, in these few places. But it is hard for me to watch those. I without feeling Like a lot of the laughs are like, I mean, forget about the laugh track.
The detachment.
Yeah, the detachment, and like, there's so many. I mean, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but there's a lot of like indicators in comedy in general. Yeah. Like, something very, very basic is like a catchphrase, like "get her done." That means it's time for you to laugh.
Yeah.
And like,
chop.
Those the multi-cam shows have a rhythm that's very much like it's your time to laugh, and they literally tell you to laugh by playing
the applause sign. Yeah.
So like. It's something about that kind of like
the inauthenticity.
Yeah, at least The Office, like no one's telling you have to laugh at this.
Yeah, but it would always be Jim.
You should be laughing now. Yeah. No one's saying that.
It would be Jim or Pam looking at the camera. Yeah, that would be their applause
that would be
sign.
a bit of a tell.
Yeah,
I mean a bit of an indicator.
But those 3 cams are the ones that's getting renewed.
And I think they are, and because they're very cheap to make, and I think. I mean, I think even if you saw my comedy, I'm like, well, this guy's got a million indicators. It's hard to do comedy without indicating. Like, right now I'm being not serious.
Yeah.
But, it's something about the in your face of it.
When we're doing stand-up, you know your rhythm, and you know the rhythm that you orchestrate. Da-da-da, pop, da-da-da, pop, da-da-da, pop.
Like, that show, The Neighborhood on CBS?
Just got renewed.
That got renewed for, like, I think multiple seasons.
Yeah, just got renewed.
I'm sure they have to pay Cedric Entertainer through the nose for him to do it.
Well, he's a
$350?
Yeah. $350 an episode?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's also getting into later seasons, so now they have to pay him more and more and more.
Yeah. Once you hit syndication level,
I think
he doesn't need the money, period. But he doesn't. He can also go his tour and make plenty of money. So they must be paying him enough to incentivize
to stay home.
Yeah, not do arenas or theaters.
So whatever. I mean, it's clearly working for them. The other guy on it is also a pretty big deal. He was on The New Girl, Max Greenfield.
Yeah, that's his name.
I think. Yep. Anyway, but like, so yeah. I mean, it must be. But I bet it only gets whatever. Not that anyone.
Yeah, the ratings
8 million an episode, which like again, like in 10 years ago, you're canceled.
Yeah, done. Thanks. Thanks. Goodbye. This is CBS. We should do better. Yeah, that kind of thing.
It's funny that show. What is the show?
It's also what they can sell it for too for the advertising.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's that show what's the show where people always cried? What was that? It's on NBC. Like about families. I can't remember. It's like.
This Is Us.
This Is Us.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That was this big hit,
Yeah.
And
the ratings were not.
It was like 4 million people are watching this. That's it.
Yeah.
Like that's
Us wasn't that big.
I mean, to bring it full circle, Dukes of Hazzard probably got like 40 million viewers a night.
Crazy. Yeah.
And
at the 70s, end, at the end, those 3 leads, they were all making $350 an episode.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
crazy.
Like you said, there are 1,000 shows. Like, what do you?
Yeah, that's the problem.
It's such a weird time for it to be.
Problem.
It's such a weird time to be professional entertainment. Yeah.
So whatever. I got a new phone, so it came with 3 months of Apple TV Plus. So I'm like, all right, I'll get Apple TV Plus. Like, it's free.
Yeah.
I put it on, and there's a show with Colin Farrell, movie star Colin Farrell, called Sugar.
Yeah, he's an agent or something, or
a detective, I think.
Okay.
And I was just like, I'm in TV.
Yeah.
I never heard of this. This guy's a fucking movie star.
Yeah.
I never heard of this fucking show.
Yeah.
And they must have to pay him so much money to do it.
Yeah.
Because he's still a pretty big name. He's still, I don't know if A-list, but A-minus list or whatever actor, right?
Yeah.
What is the budget for this? There's another show with Kristen Wiig, Carol Burnett. Like, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I like Shrinking.
Okay, I've heard Shrinking is good, and obviously Apple is the richest.
Indiana Jones.
What are they paying him? Yeah. So I mean, and Apple is the richest company in the history of the world. They clearly don't need them. They can lose money on everything they make, obviously. But so that's a little bit of an exception. But like,
them and Amazon have their own kind of thing.
It is crazy. Yeah, like I look at it and go,
"This
who's
is exactly
watching
the
this?"
first thing I thought when I turned on Apple Plus. Again, I had a free subscription for 3 months. That's the first thing I thought too. I was like, why are these movie stars making Apple TV shows?
Yeah. They're all making.
First thing I thought.
What was Indiana Jones? Doing comedy.
They must be paying them so much, obviously, and there's exposure and like.
And it's more.
Doesn't Tom Hanks has like 4 Apple Plus?
Yeah. He does. He has like movies. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the movies.
He's got like 4 of them on there. I was like, what is this? I mean, I've never heard of this.
And I'm the age to remember when Tom Hanks was like the biggest actor. Just the biggest name.
Yeah, Forrest Gump, Saving Private Ryan.
So it is strange, but I guess it's where the work is and the money is, and like it's so weird to think that these guys are doing TV.
Yeah. And the thing is, you're not really. Their commercial is the new MacBook or the new iPhone.
Exactly. I don't know
really what that is. It's I didn't realize soap operas were called soap operas because they were just selling soap to housewives.
Yes. Yeah.
And so like you're gonna have Apple operas. You know what I mean?
I mean,
tech operas.
Well, you have the what's the Killers of the Flower Moon?
Yeah,
up there. I see, and a very good movie.
Yeah,
it takes place in Oklahoma. Of course,
yeah.
That's why you're
interested. It was, but
I believe it cost 250 $1 million to make.
Yeah, Scorsese.
Like I believe it grossed like 80.
Yeah,
I mean it's a total loss.
Yeah,
it was totally lost.
It was an art house thing, but it was an Apple production.
Yeah, but Apple doesn't care. They're like, this is great. We went to a party. Leonardo DiCaprio was there, and like, we don't need this money.
Yeah,
this is like
we can associate De Niro and DiCaprio
with our product. This is basically our ad. For Apple.
Yeah, it's like, hey, by the way, do you want to buy an iPhone?
That's what it is. Otherwise, it makes no sense for them to make it.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, we all need to take our scripts to Apple.
Basically, we need to become giant movie stars. And then go to Apple and make real money for something no one sees.
I'm waiting for Elon Musk to start his own show.
Write a script with a movie star as the lead, and then go to Apple.
Yeah, we got a car chase with Teslas. That kind of thing, and then they have to run off to the moon and then go through a boring hole.
I think in some ways, like in my lifetime of being a big comedy head, stand-up comedy has never been bigger. Like, there's so many people who can like play arenas now and like have
stadiums.
It just wasn't like that.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, there was like Steve Martin and Andrew Dice Clay and Eddie Murphy did it. And like there was like 4 people. And then Dane did it. And it was like, whoa, 4 people sold.
Yeah.
Now
because he was the new one.
There's a comedian there every week playing Madison Square Garden or something. Every month or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, but then TV comedy, I think, did sort of peak like 10 years ago or something, with the amount of opportunities to like comedians to like have their own show or whatever. I think, or to be incentivized, because now they're giving up this money.
Like Pete Davidson said, I don't want to do a streaming comedy show now.
Why? I mean,
they were gonna Peacock, they were gonna renew it. He was like, no, it's gross. Gerard walked away from his show.
I think it's just like a different incentive structure to like someone with their own brand, and you know, they don't need Comedy Central anymore.
Yeah,
right? Like, so
I don't need to deal with standard and practices.
It's very different, and I didn't come up that way. I came up with needing gatekeepers to help you.
Yes.
And so when I see kind of to bring it back to when people are filming themselves at open mics, I'm like, what is the point of this? And then they're probably looking at me going like, this guy needs to be filming himself. This is how you get your name out there. You film yourself, you put it out. You know, this guy's playing in a model from 2005. And so I think,
and you're still crushing on it. And you're like even that room we did with Hannah's room.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, it's just like I so sometimes when I look at comedy, I think I'm very positive about it. I'm like, oh, this is probably for the best. Like, people are getting a chance to, they don't need 3 executives at Comedy Central to like what they do.
You don't have to get the thumbs up, thumbs
from
down
1 or 2 people. Like, this is probably for the best. And sometimes I see it and I go, what is the structure here? And what is the end game? And how do you keep it going?
It's it's very democratized now, and you can go straight to audience, and you can go with the social media, with the YouTube.
And then not to be like, you know, like, but I don't know what the word is, but like the main place that sells tickets to basically any of these comedians that you've heard of, it's Live Nation, which is owned by Ticketmaster. It's just like
which is
a monopoly.
Shady as fuck. I hate.
And they suck.
Yeah.
I mean, of course they want to sign me. Sounds great. I'll probably read this.
We'll move this episode.
They control all of it. They, of course, the comedians are making a lot of money, so they're not going to stop. Right? You can't blame them. But like. That is also a weird system. There should be someone else who can book a freaking arena in Tulsa.
Yeah,
you know, besides one company.
Yeah, they own like 95% of the venues, and it's
probably
like brown paper tickets.
And don't they own like 50% of billboards or something too? Or no, Clear Channel.
Clear Channel. Well, it's the same. Yeah, I think they're iHeartRadio.
But you know, so it's like that side of it. Is like
the monopoly side is gross.
Yeah. But never before have comedians. I feel like so many people I know who aren't in comedy, family, friends, whatever, are so interested in to talk about whoever, Tom Segura, always famous people. They're not interested in me, but you know, which is fair enough. You know,
thanks, Dad.
But exactly, But
have you seen Russell? Have you seen Russell Peters do it?
Yeah.
I did one too, Dad. Thanks. Here we go.
I mean, but you know, so like that aspect of it is fascinating. It feels like a big deal, stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I think I did see that Shane Gillis and Tom Segura are doing Netflix shows. They're obviously, whatever you think of their comedy, they're big names, you know, and so they are doing a TV show, but like...
But they're going to do it their way.
They must have been...
They must have the clout to...
And they must have had to pay them so much because, like, to get those guys off the road, they make so much money.
Yeah.
There's no middleman to take all their money.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have a bus full of roadies. You don't have to break down pyrotechnics. You don't have
it's like
you don't have to pay a drummer or a guitarist.
The percentage that goes to the artist is so much higher on something like that than so many. Even if you're in a band that's big, it's like you have to split it 5 ways. There's touring, the gear, all the
exactly.
Like you said. So it's just I really am curious to see what happens with comedy in general in 10 years. Will Comedy Central exist in 10 years?
Oh, I can't see it. I mean, because to me, it's really what, like I said, Daily Show and South Park, and it's basically
those are huge brands. I mean, the Daily
South
Show
Park's
is
kind of their own thing, and then,
it is. I mean, they can always put that on Paramount and have their fans, but well, I mean, I don't know if anyone cares, but like Showtime is no longer exists.
Yeah,
they're just making it part of Paramount Plus, and Showtime obviously didn't have the same brand identity that HBO did, but it was a brand.
Yeah.
So to give up on a brand is telling someone that like they're just not making any money.
Exactly. It's not worth it
to give up a brand like that is pretty crazy.
Yeah,
something extreme is happening.
Dead. Yeah.
And it's
like
going to happen.
Sports Illustrated gone.
Sports Illustrated. What a brand that was in 1988.
Yeah.
I mean, so it happens. Everyone. I mean, at some point, whatever. We
sound like old men, don't we?
We do. Yes. We do for sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what was like.
Yeah.
Are there any like popular cereals or something that are gone or something? Something that like I besides comedy, like anything that was like just like that doesn't exist anymore. That like
we're just throwing dirt on the graves of shit. Yeah.
I mean, hey, it just
you're working though. You're working though.
I am working. I'm still working. So it keeps.
Yeah. We're mourning the loss of television. Like,
well, I mean, I think that the other thing I've heard, which is sort of interesting, I don't even know if you guys wanted to have a conversation about the state of comedy with me, but like,
the elder statesman.
So think about terrestrial radio. It still exists.
Yes.
Do you guys ever listen to Kiss FM or anything? I mean, I'm not saying you do or don't, but someone does.
I got tired of listening to my own playlist, and I listen to NPR.
The surprise of it is nice. Right? Yeah. They're playing the song I like. I wasn't even thinking about it.
I drive a lot, so I do have the radio on, but everything starts to repeat.
It does, right? The same few songs.
Then it's just...
I was a K-Day guy, 93.5, and I think they have like 15 songs.
Yeah. But I never listen. I haven't listened to Treasure Radio in a long time. I certainly did when I was a kid, but like, it's somebody's making money off it, or it wouldn't exist.
Now I mostly listen to news radio, be honest with you.
NPR or something like that.
I mean, And like,
that's what I listen to that one. Yeah.
NPR is huge still, like in terms of reach and selling
government
ads.
Subsidized.
It is.
But
But
and it's still quality. It's still interesting.
So cable TV could become that, or TV. I mean, maybe Lifetime Network is still on in 30 years because they're doing something somebody wants. They're just doing it.
Yeah, I mean, like I gotta think because they always have
those Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
They do so well. Yeah. Hallmark is a very successful channel. I can't believe there's a channel named after a greeting card. It's just so strange.
It's like an Apple TV thing. They're basically doing it to promote their cards.
I guess, but people also watch those movies where, guess what? They find love in the end, and it's a nice Christmas. Like this movie is dumb.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's fine. You can watch it, but like I don't care. But like they're all the same movie, and like people like it. So it's profitable. Oh, I guarantee you the Hallmark Network is a very successful cable network.
They got back the two people from high school got back together. They came back in their 40s and married or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's nothing. I mean, I sound like I am putting it down, but I'm not putting it down. But it's not something I would watch. So then I wonder like, how is this successful? But it's very successful.
Yeah.
So there's still maybe room for all these channels. I don't
coming home for the holidays and that kind of thing. And it's just
then sports is the other whole thing.
Yeah.
That is
live
just
sports
still huge. Like enormous.
Yeah. Like, that's really the only appointment TV I've noticed.
I mean,
we were talking about that how like they've moved the NFL. Like it's now on Thursday nights, Friday nights, Sunday nights.
Yeah.
Monday,
didn't they added a week to it?
Yeah, they added one more week.
They added a week. So 2 years
17
ago. Now it's going to be 18, I believe.
Yeah, 17 with a bye.
I mean, you can look at it cynically, or if you're in charge, like, what a smart move. There's so many teams. You can just extend it. Yeah. You don't have to make them play 16 games. Just give 2 bye weeks. Yeah. Extend the money you make for 2 more weeks. Like, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
You'd be almost dumb not to.
Yep.
Oh, did you have a team growing up? Were you a Cowboys guy?
I was a Cowboys guy. I lived there when they were like really good.
Oh, the '90s Cowboys. Yeah, so that was Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Irvin.
It was exciting, but something about it was like, I mean, it was coverage of the Cowboys.
It was a hot mess.
Was just all the time, constantly, and like I got kind of tired of it. To be honest, like, it was just on again. Back then, there were only 50 channels, including cable. Yeah. So and like the radio is just the constant
it was its own soap
Cowboy
opera
coverage
too.
in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Often it would be like whatever, like famine in Chad or Sudan or whatever, but the head story is Troy Aikman is not sure if his arm's feeling good this week or something.
Barry Switzer has the gun in the airport.
That's Irvin
right, the
has
the Michael Irvin has the prostitutes and threatened to kill a cop. Leon Lett, drug dealing and stuff like.
So there was just like a lot of it. So I kind of
Jimmy and Barry
tired of it. And I went to high school in Arlington, Texas, which is where the Cowboys play now. But
Jerry World.
High school football is such a big deal there.
Yeah.
And I did not play high school football, so it kind of, I don't know, I don't want to use the word bothered me, but something about it was a little like, this is just too much attention.
It's too much.
This specific thing.
We both played football, and I played at a shitty school.
Yeah.
But football was still big. It was Oklahoma, and it was like, and I would see like the nicer schools, and I was like, I get that and people are cheering, and that's good, and that kind of thing. But I was just like, it just felt weird. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah,
something about it is like,
what was? Did you have a opinion?
I didn't have no weird feelings playing football. No.
Okay, no, I mean, I just saw it felt like a cult. It felt like cult level, especially like it was like so much branding for the town, and they took so much weird identity, like that Friday Night Lights thing. It was real.
It was real. I mean,
obviously it was a movie, but it was also
blame. I mean, I did go to high school football games. I liked them. Yeah. Something about it was like
everybody was there. That was the social event. Yeah.
But like I remember, I mean, I certainly didn't play on our high school basketball team, but the team was pretty good.
Yeah.
And like people didn't really care that much. I was like, boy, these football players take all these. Not that they're trying to do it on purpose. It's just what people are interested in. So But the NFL is so huge; it just never stops getting bigger.
Yeah.
Nothing is stopping it.
It's like
nothing. It's just the biggest thing ever.
Yeah.
In this country, like obviously it's not a big deal in whatever Portugal, but here.
Well, they're going to start playing games in Lisbon next year. You know that, right?
They might. I mean, they might. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it is just so enormous.
Well, like they got the games in Mexico City. They got the games in London, UK. It's just
Brazil, Germany. They're going to like
a lot of places,
like 8 countries
and
next
I'm
year.
surprised that it's not bigger elsewhere.
They're going to sell merch, and like the Dodgers were playing in South Korea this year. It's just. I mean, live sports is the only thing that's really it's weird. Yeah.
I mean,
this has just been we've been throwing dirt on everything.
I mean, I did hear once like Michael Douglas in this interview. He was asked like, "Oh, do you watch a lot of movies? Like, you make movies?
50-year career."
Speaking of a guy, he has an Apple TV show where he plays Ben Franklin. I mean, like, what?
Yeah. How are they affording this?
What is happening? They're shooting it in France or whatever. Like when Franklin was in France. It's just like, okay, I guess fine. No, I don't know anyone who's watching it. Fine.
And the only thing that pulled the plug on was Jon Stewart because he started
That's
talking.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He started talking shit about them.
Yeah.
And they were, hey, you're getting rid of our propaganda machine.
Exactly.
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Jon Stewart. That's why he's back on the Daily Show.
Yeah. But anyway, he said something like, "Oh, I don't really watch movies anymore. The only thing that I watch are sports and news because you can't predict the ending." And I was like, "Oh, that's really interesting."
Wow.
Like, to some degree, news is also very popular, like Fox News and CNN. I mean, they're all losing ratings as time goes on, but they're still pretty popular.
It's election season; it'll bump up a little bit.
News and quotes for all sides, not just Fox News. But like,
I mean, it's because there's only one Fox, and then there's like CNN, MSNBC kind of go off the same
split,
audience.
Yeah, but it was an interesting thought. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, you can kind of you really don't know who's gonna win the game. I mean, even if it's a really good team and a really bad team, like you really don't know.
Yeah, it's also one of those things where where I just like learned because it was like so subsidized by advertising. I didn't realize like they can't talk about certain things because of they don't want to fuck up the sponsorships. You know, and I get that. It's just I'd go down my conspiracy rabbit hole. Marcus always rolls his eyes at me. Here we go. Anyway, dude, where can people find you?
Probably
where can the disciples
probably Instagram and I guess Twitter sort of. I kind of took
that really did fucking crack me up. I legitimately laughed out loud whenever I saw that post. Or yeah, whereas you have you say the silliest shit.
There's the dumbest stuff. Yeah, yeah. I think it's or just Google RAJDESAI. I think my Instagram is like the there. If you,
Good morning to all my disciples.
Yes.
I loved it. Spelled with his last name.
Yeah.
Shit cracks my shit up. Dude, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me. It was fun. It was interesting.
Guys, if you like the episode, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can find Marcus at Marcus Stewart TV. You can find me at The Fun Matt Lewis. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you. Yeah.
Support for Obnoxious Valid Points is not brought to you by Audible. Audible, are you too stupid to read a book? Have one read to you. You'll find no books or mentions of books at patreon.com/ovpoints.